kind of speechless after the introduction from Ruth. Thank you very much. Reverend Chloe, it's been an absolute joy collaborating with you, and thank you for this. Well, yeah, good. All right, that's a good point. Thanks, Mary Jane, I appreciate that. Thank you also, and thank you, Patty, and thank to the sponsors and the board of the Interfaith Center of New York. This is just overwhelming. I think I've gotten now 3 awards for this AFCON work in the last month, but this one is it's a little bit too much. So it's to be in this room with these kind of leaders is you feel a little bit out of place. Are you sure you have the right person? So I'd like to thank everybody here and specifically a few people that set me on my way. My mom gave me birth, so she started that project. My brother and I started the Zaka Khan Foundation shortly after my father's passing. And it's a bit emotionally for me, because his life was about social justice and interfaith. I mean, he sort of embodied interfaith. So for the Interfaith Center of New York, specifically to have an award in the name of the very Reverend James Parks Morton is it's a bit overwhelming, because his life, his accomplishments at St. John the Divine, I've known, and then starting this organization, I sort of feel I'm not worthy. Anyway, there's some other people here who are great, and the fun thing about doing this work is you get to meet so many cool people, and you get to collaborate with so many cool people, as you all know. So let me just look around. There's Dr. Amani Balour. She's a Syrian doctor who was featured in the Academy Award nominated documentary called The Cave, so you should all see it if you haven't. This guy John over here, Doutzenberg, he's my co-collaborator on a number of things. One, getting Amani to America, so she's here. And then on the AFCON project. So the AFCON project, do you want to hear about how it started? Is that interesting to anyone? So I started an organization in Greece 7 years ago called PETA, and it was set up to deal with what they call the European crisis, and that was Syrian and Afghan and Iraqi refugees moving to Greece, and we worked with the Greek government to provide a better home, sort of dignity. They were living in refugee camps, which was awful. So we moved them into our places, residences, and provided them psychosocial, legal, medical, etc. And that continued, and then I started to work with Yazidis from Iraq and Chaldean Catholics from Iraq, and we continued on that, and we sponsored some Syrians to get to America. And then one day John calls me and he says, there's an Afghan woman in Sacramento, and she has applied for humanitarian parole, John, was that it? And she's gotten it. She worked for the US government for years, but they didn't take her daughters, these 2 little girls. And would you sign up to be their sponsor for humanitarian parole? And I think this was June, is that right? And I said, okay. And June went by, and there was nothing from the US government. July went by, and there was nothing from the US government. And then I said, John, maybe I should go over there or something and try and get the daughters. And he said, okay. And we tried to convince them, and so it was the 2 young girls, 13 and 3, their grandmother, and their uncle and his fiance. And they weren't making it into the airport. They had a tough time getting from Herat to Kabul. They weren't making it into the airport. And then I just said, okay, we gotta figure out how to get these people out. And I started calling everyone I've ever known. And I wound up in the office of a guy named Vladimir Zelensky. Wild. This is late August. And I said, I understand you are taking people who have Ukrainian passports. So there were a number of Afghans who had Ukrainian passports from the old Soviet times. And he had committed to taking them out. And so I'd love to join up with your operation because I want to get some of these Afghans out that have been left behind. And this was actually the first one before we took out the Ayubis. And the next thing I knew, I was on a plane to Kabul with Ukrainian Special Forces, the end of August. And we went and got the little girls and their grandma and their uncle and the uncle's fiance and a bunch more people. And then we said, look, we're pretty good at this. Let's just keep going. And as it was, the US government had wrapped up its operation. So we kept going and we did it again and again and again. And I think we took out 19 women MPs, a lot of judges, hundreds and hundreds of people, probably over 1,000 people. And we still have some of these people stuck in places trying to work on their movement to the United States or Canada. So if anyone wants to help with that, we're very available. So that's how the Afghan story started, and that's I think it was nice, and we continue. We keep working, and of course, because I collaborated with Ukrainians and I've been to Ukraine so many times, I am now collaborating with Ukrainians again. There's a Ukrainian American doctor here. We've been sending medicine to Ukraine. Gennady, say hello. And then all my other collaborators here. Machan Ilyasov, he's the permanent representative from Kazakhstan to New York. He got me visas in Kabul, so when you want to get people out of Kabul, you need a visa in your passport. How do you do that? Well, there's only so many countries that have operations in Kabul. He was one of them. He said, let's ask the president and see if it works. And it worked, and we did. And thank you, Ajahn. So a lot of people here that have been part of a lot of success. So it's relationships, it's community, it's teams, and I'm humbled by all of you, and I humbly accept this honor. And thank you very much, everyone.
Congratulations on your James Parks Weapon